let's talk about what to do when you are feeling undervalued at work.
Welcome back to Sales Operations for Small Businesses.
When you're in sales ops specifically, it's very easy to be the shadow person behind sales because sales is seen as king in most organizations. And then sales operations can then be seen as the little foot soldier that runs up behind the king, making sure everything is sorted out for them. And actually, that's not the case. But it's hard because when something goes well, all of these salespeople are amazing. The sales managers get all of the credit. And then when it goes badly, then everybody's looking at you saying, how come this thing fell down? It might not be specifically about client work, but that's what happens. Just like this system is so slow, it shouldn't be the case that something should break down. Yeah. And you're sitting there thinking, but I said that we should be sorting this out and you deprioritized it. So that's why it broke down. It's very easy to get the short end of the stick. So you need to treat, even if it is just you and you're doing solo sales ops, you need to treat your department. You need to treat your function as a department. It's nice if there's at least one other person. It makes it easier. It makes it not seem weird in your head, but you need to treat it as a separate department. It might be a sub-department to sales, but you need to treat it as a separate department. So you know how departments have their monthly or quarterly results or whatever that they have to report in their KPIs? So often sales has KPIs. Sales operations doesn't have anything because what sales operations is supposed to do is make sales look good. So therefore it's really hard for you to be able to show your value over a period of time. What did you contribute? Because people might not, when it comes to review time, people aren't going, generally speaking, clearly there are some dodgy people, but most people aren't going to sit here and say, well, you haven't done any work. You might have fixed the system, sorted out all of the training materials and made sure that there's some kind of structure and everything. But yeah, no, you really didn't do anything. Anybody could have done that. Some people will say that, but a lot of people won't. When it comes to review time, a lot of people can at least say, oh yeah, no, fair enough. Yes, clearly you've done a good job. It's just not given the big woohoo at the time. And so this is where you end up having to sell it and treat it as its own department. You're going to have to brand sales operations, which took me so long to come to terms with, because in my mind, and to be fair, this is true, this is what other business coaches, would tell me because I've had a few, my reputation's always been great, but I've had no brand. Because in my mind, brand was all the razzmatazz and whatever. And usually people with the big brands, in my professional experience growing up professionally, the people with all of the razzmatazz and the really colorful brands were people who you couldn't actually count on to get the work done. So they might have been being paid more and whatever, and people might have liked them, but they didn't know them when they liked them, if that makes sense. They were just sparkly. Whereas I like working. I like to do good work. I like to have quality work produced. I like to deliver. I like to make a difference. So my reputation's always been sparkling. But I didn't understand that you still need to shout about that. You still need to make a point to make it fully known. And it's really interesting because coming from this kind of department, when you do end up saying all of these and sharing it, people go, oh, well, yeah, we know. And they kind of feel on the defensive because it's just like they're thinking you shouldn't have to be actively saying you've done these things because they do already know, but they feel defensive because they know they didn't give you as much of your dues as they were supposed to. Which again, you have to reinforce that. You reinforce it. So where you're delivering your reports and everything on what the numbers were for the sales team, is the project plan that you have, the program of works with all the projects in it, is that plan something that is easily visible by other people? So it might exist inside whatever program you're using, but can you relatively easily export that with titles that other people could understand so that it actually shows the breadth of work that you've been working on? As in something that's as simple as it could be sitting inside of a PowerPoint and just be a really simple timeline Gantt chart. more timeline because it's at the highest level. Do you have that? Do you have that? Do you have a presentation that you can deliver to your manager, to the leadership team? Because bearing in mind, if we're talking about people in small companies, you're probably going to go straight to the leadership team to say, this is everything that's being worked on. This is where we are with it. This is what is being delayed. This is what has been sped up. These are the things that it's going to do. You have to keep it front of mind for these people so that they know they can't be doing without you. And I'm not saying that, you're at risk of you losing your job, but for some people, if you do not actively shout politely, professionally, then when it comes time for people to be looking at the numbers, they could be thinking, well, what do sales ops do anyway? I had a manager who used to say to me all the time that sales ops is a cost function. It doesn't make money. And if you're going to use that definition, then the only place that makes money is the sales department, the main sales department. And it's like, and maybe accounts receivable. But no, the reason why I don't agree with that, because yes, it does cost money, but the whole point is that it's supposed to be making money by reducing friction. It makes money. The reason why I don't agree with that thought process is because that led her to being a person that had to do things that would justify her pay, regardless if it actively messed up what was happening with the salespeople. And one day I might go into details about what happened to that company afterwards, but the amount of things that she launched that didn't need to be launched, didn't need to be pushed to be launched as fast as it was. We didn't need to spend all of that money, but it made it look like as if she was doing all of these great things, despite the fact that the outcomes of none of these things didn't work. But they were so big, because sales ops is so influential, they were so big that if the company was doing it, it'd have to go all in. And so once you get a company going all in, it doesn't ever like to look back and say, maybe we can track back, because it can't. It's too big. You've hired too many people to create an extra function, for example. And it just led to poor practices. It led to her prioritizing herself, because she was somebody who had an excellent brand and nobody knew what it was like to work with her. Excellent brand. I worked with her, it was terrible. Her reputation is through the floor, but her brand is probably still intact. Because people outside the organization, when they're looking at her CV, for example, they'll see she introduced this, she introduced that, she introduced this, and project management that, and had all of these people working underneath her. And a lot of interviewers won't know to really ask, but what was the result of all of these things? And even those results can be spun, because she had a great brand, but a poor reputation. So you don't have to go too far in the other direction, but you do need both. You need to be able to get the work done and still be able to say in your quarterly reports, this is what's going on. This is what worked really, really well. These were the learnings, and you share it back to them. You show that leadership team, your manager, preferably the leadership team, the wider net of people at the top that you can get it to, the better for your own safety. That you've been thinking about these things at a different level. In fact, you can think about these things at many levels, at a strategic level, as well as the actual minute by minute, what needs to be done level. Because trust me when I tell you, not many people can do that. But if you're in this role, you can. Even if you don't think you can, you probably wouldn't be in this role for very long unless you've developed the skill to be able to think at different levels. So if you feel like you're being undervalued, it's because they don't know your value, and you need to tell them. You think, oh, maybe they should know. They should be able to see the results of all of these things, but people's memories are short and very specific to themselves. So if they don't see you, they won't remember you like how you believe you should be remembered. If you're feeling undervalued, reframe their minds as to what value is. You show them what value is by explaining the depths of your work without driving people to boredom. But the effect, the sales ops effect, one might say, that you have, that your function has on the sales department and the wider company, you show them value. And that feeling of feeling undervalued, that will change. And if it doesn't, refer back to one of my previous shows, because you don't have to stay at that company. If you're doing all of this work, if you're being underpaid, if people are treating you like crap and they're not paying attention and they're just running you down, you don't have to be there. You can find another job. For most of us listening and watching, you can find another job. Let me know what from this episode you found useful. I really want to know. It doesn't matter what platform that you're listening to this or watching this on. Let me know. And if you'd like some more free resources, please go to salesopseffect.com/library. And there's free resources there as well as other episodes that you can get to. And I will speak to you soon.